Hi, this is Couch Coomer, and I'll probably might put this up on my other channel, um, Clear Sausage. Not too sure on that one yet, but there was a lady on YouTube that had a video on how to get into a certain university library. I tried one, Cambridge University Digital University, and I couldn't really find what I was looking for, and I had to go through Facebook, and then it asked me to change my password. I guess I was too far in, so I did, but I put it back to how it was, hopefully, originally. Okay, so yeah, I came across this book because I got an interest in these ancient, supposedly mythical cuneiform texts, from the different Sumerian, Akkadian, and Babylonian tablets, which is supposed to be like 3,000, 4,000 years older than the biblical texts, and it appears to me that they've actually been adopted and then adapted. Minor details have been changed, say in the flood epic, an epic of Gilgamesh. Noah's name has been changed to Ancient. Them being on the water, length of time, it was originally 6 days in the myths, but in the biblical version it's 40 days, 40 nights. Okay, and of course Noah was, Upanishad was immortal. Gilgamesh went searching for him after his best friend died. I think it's Enkidu, and so forth. Okay, so I'm looking at this book here, pretty colourful, pretty interesting, by Sasha Lesson, PhD. Okay, so they know what they're talking about. Anunnaki Gods No More. Okay, there's a nice picture there. Sasha, or Alex Lesson, PhD, Anthropology, UCLA University, I guess, in America. Might be his website here. Okay, dedication. I dedicate this book to my teacher, Zechariah Sitchin, who made the truth of human existence available to us, and to my wife, Janet Kira Lesson, who encouraged me to share some of Sitchin's findings in this book. Okay, he states, Zechariah Sitchin, who made the truth of human existence available to us. Okay, so you'd have to establish that claim as fact, okay, as true, and provide the evidence that it is true, prove that it's irrefutable. Okay, meaning you can deny it as much as you like. You can debunk it as much as you like, as people will, but you can't deny it because it's like proven irrefutable. It's proven to be true beyond a doubt, right? Okay, so we'll do that, see if we can do that. Okay, it's published by Stargate Publishing, copyright 2012. Okay, so I hope I won't get no copyright strike there, because I'm just presenting the book. I'm not like, no music or whatever in the background. Okay, here's all the contents here. Preface, paradigm, planetary peace. Gods came from the planet Nibiru. Nibiru's political scripted Earth. Here in part 1, read what Sitchin said. Nibiru hit proto-Earth 4 billion years ago. Okay. Alalu proved Earth's gold. Nibiruans mined and settled Earth. Okay. Some more here. Enki, Nimma, and Ningishzida created slaves. Marduk and astronauts allied with Earthlings. Gulls who saved Earthlings from flood. And there's plenty more here. Okay. There's many more here, so it's a big book. Examine the evidence. Part 2, it's all there. Part 3, peruse the appendixes. Check the timeline, remember who's who, find out how the Bible fused Iberian royals into only one God. Notice the notes, read the references, access authors' information. Okay. Preface. Preface. Paradigm planetary peace. The giant gods of the ancient world of the successors they choose created mindsets that shackle us to short, desperate lives. These so-called gods rocketed to Earth from a planet they called Nibiru. Nibiruans stand way taller and live way longer than we. The ETs said they bred us as short-term slaves and soldiers. We killed in their names. Allah, Sumerian, Nana, yeah, Allah. It's actually, we go look at it. Look at Shaka Amos's R.I.P. The Moors, Part 2. It goes way back to ALA, Allah, right? Keeper of the net. Yahweh, or God of the net. Yahweh, sometimes Enlil, at times Adad, or even Enki. Ishtar, Inanna, and Adonai, Enki. Mining expedition personnel, all Nibiruans. We Earthlings are one species designed to slave in mines, armies, businesses, schools, governments, farms, factories, and building projects for ETs and the royal lines of ever murderous hybrid rulers they beget, or they bore, that they came from. Okay, the alternative history: Zachariah Sitchin, Neil Freer, Michael Tallinger, Andy Lloyd, Michael Cremo, and Richard Thompson articulate about our origins and development, shatter the fetters of the lies with which the elite, the false gods, chose keep us in war, greed, poverty, shortened lives. Lies of church and state now hoard information, necessities, and survival plans as Earth faces immediate danger from space debris. We feel our oneness with all people and together survive when we see we're all kin, descended from the same ancestors from two different planets. When we accept the hybrid origins, we can nullify what the elites, the Niberians, imposed on us demand. We can instead cooperate with all and drop hate for others that God scripted on us. We survive together when we jointly plan for the periodic return of Nibiru as astronauts in the debris that lurk at its Lagrange point, 180 degrees from Nibiru on its orbit around its sub-dwarf primary star Nemesis. When I studied for my doctorate in anthropology at UCLA in the 60s, my professors taught that gradual physical, then socio-cultural evolution caused all human development. In physical evolution, they said a Miocene or Pliocene anthropoid primate evolved into a hominid, Homo erectus, which in turn had evolved from simpler primates over millions of years. My anthropology teacher said Homo sapiens, that's us, gradually evolved from erectus. Okay. Socioculturally, anthropologists said we evolved with technology, we ourselves developed. They thought we proliferated as we planted and bred cereals from local grains, tamed indigenous wild sheep, goats, cattle, donkeys and horses, invented tools and machines, developed medicine, constructed irrigation and transportation systems, built cities, and developed ever more effective mathematics, astronomy, chemistry, metallurgy, architecture, and engineering. Modern information proves the anthropologist's wrong. What the hell say? About our physical evolution. We didn't evolve incrementally from simpler primates on Earth. We've found no gradually intermediate skeletons of primates that link modern humans from Tarsier like ancestors from which 20th century anthropologists thought we evolved. So was that poo-pooing on Darwin's evolution? Several advanced hominids coexisted with Erectus. Erectus and its contemporaries may have been survivors of astronomically caused extinction events during human settlement on Earth, long before 400,000 years ago, when the scientists Enki and crews of 7 12-foot tall Homo sapiens colonized Earth from Nibiru. Reject the view that we're an entirely indigenous species that evolved only from simpler forms native to this planet. Reject also anthropologists' old view that the technologies we invented caused our social evolution. We actually developed socially when the ETs gave us advanced technologies. 60s anthropologists had noted mysterious up-levelings of civilization every 3,600 years or so. Improvements. Ancient inhabitants of Iraq, then called Sumer, wrote that the Nibiruan gods gave them. Anthropologists of the 60s believed these gods imaginary. This guy's chairman at UCLA said technological innovation Sumerians themselves developed and explained social evolution. The innovations, he said, allowed more population growth, sedentariness, material goods, specialization and leisure, all of which caused social evolution. Neither he nor I ever considered as real, let alone the source of cultural evolution. Gods, the Sumerians said, gave them the genes, inventions, crops and livestock that let them increase their numbers and master the environment. In the thrall of evolutionary anti-creationism, we dismissed what Mesopotamians, Egyptians, Indians, Norse, Chinese, Tibetan, Central and South Americans said about gods who rode celestial chariots through thunderbolts that periodically boosted our civilization with crops, herds, devices, laws and knowledge. Sociologist C.W. Mills showed how power elites control Earth and collaborate to perpetuate competition and war. These elites descended from the bloodline of Enki, whom Sumerians said was a god, albeit a flesh and blood god. 300,000 years ago, Enki combined his genes with those of Erectus to breed gold mining slaves. 13,000 years ago, he fathered Ziasudra, Noah in the Bible, ancestor of the elite that to this day rule Earth. The elite still employ a master-slave god worshipper code, with them in master status and we in slave, albeit economic slave status, to run humanity. Ziasudra descendants, today's elite, passed their mandate to dictate from Sumer through Egypt to Israel, through David and the Messiahs, fostered by the Essene communities in Canaan. Okay, Jesus was in the scene, as was his wife, Mary Magdalene. Information the Catholic Church suppressed. Okay, isn't that Gnostic? Wouldn't that be Gnostic? Catholics instead perpetuated slave code fear and subservience. They hid the truth of our hybridization and persecuted and brutalized the human-centered strain of the bloodline. That's most of us. In 2000, Cody and Robin Johnson brought me to this guy, Sasha. Okay, brought me to a seminar led by Sumerian scholar Zechariah Sitchin. Sitchin displayed evidence in clay. He displayed evidence in clay and stone of astronomical, geological and biological knowledge Sumerians said gods gave them, knowledge our scientists only verified many millennia later. Sitchin disproved both the theistic and evolutionary dogma perpetrated by the elite. His findings solved the mysteries of missing hominid links and the periodic leaps in our social and industrial evolution. No missing physical links existed because we emerged suddenly when Enki and his cohorts blended their genome and Erectus. We got stronger tools and weapons when a Sumerian god showed the Hittites how to mine and refine iron. Sitchin's work breaks the elite's stranglehold on us. This guy Sasha attended Sitchin seminars and read everything he, Tallinger, Lloyd, Primo and other revisionists wrote. Thanks to these revisionists, we can revise our dismissal of myths as superstition. Sumerians labelled Nibiruans aircraft, submarines, helicopters, spaceships, weapons and computers with their own metaphor or words. The Nibiruans taught them as skyrships, celestial chariots, arcs, whirlbirds, brilliances and MEs, and recorded the history and science the Nibiruans taught them. We can now evaluate what these ETs said and not dismiss tales of gods as superstitious myth. Sitchin advanced a coherent paradigm of our genesis to rewrite our beginnings in astronomically, evolutionary, paleontologically, archaeologically, and redefine ourselves. His thesis corrects creationism. Redefines Darwinism. Sitchin read Sumerian as well as Hebrew, was steeped in the history and had material from the Middle East rediscovered only last 150 years. Yeah, apparently there's an Australian guy that examined it and he says, oh no, he didn't know crap. Okay. Yeah, maybe that's his perspective, his view, whatever he found, you know. He's either Australian or New Zealand. In Anunnaki, Gods No More, Sasha reviews the ancient history and sense of who we are, how we got here, and how the new paradigm of Earthlings' unique two-race genetics frees us from the model the ETs imposed on us. The new view frees us the physical and economic slavery. Hierarchic obsession, derogation of women, gold lust, antagonistic religions and nations, the Niberians and the hybrid elite they dictated. Free of short, desperate lives, we will create our future. We shall activate our latent Anunnaki genes, scientifically improve our own genome, and take our place in the civilization of the galaxy. Gods came from the planet Nibiru. Read what Sitchin said. Okay, there's a picture of him there. I think it's like a Russian or something. Russian Jew, something like that. Should really go and go to Wikipedia or something and get the information on this guy. Okay, let's just copy his name here if we can. We can't. Okay, let's type it in here. His name starts with Z. See what it comes up with. Okay, here we go. Okay. Zechariah Sitchin, born July 11th, 1920, died October 9, 2010. Okay, so what, 10 years ago? Was an author of books proposing an explanation for human origins involving ancient astronauts. Sitchin attributed the creation of the ancient Sumerian culture to the Anunnaki, which he stated was a race of extraterrestrials from a planet beyond Neptune, called Nibiru. He asserted that Sumerian mythology suggested this hypothetical planet of Nibiru is in an elongated 3,600 year long elliptical orbit around the Sun. Sitchin's books have sold millions of copies worldwide and have been translated into more than 25 languages. Sitchin's ideas have been rejected by scientists and academics who dismiss his work as pseudoscience and pseudo-history. His work has been criticized for flawed methodology and mistranslations of ancient texts, as well as for incorrect astronomical and scientific claims. Okay. He was born in Baku, Azerbaijan, SSR, and raised in mandatory Palestine. He received a degree in economics from the University of London and was an editor and journalist in mandatory Palestine, which in 1948 became the modern state of Israel, before moving to New York in 1952. While working as an executive for a shipping company, he taught himself Sumerian cuneiform and visited several archaeological sites. Okay, and there's more information there on him. Okay, is any dirt on the guy besides that he didn't know what he's talking about, he got it all wrong. American biblical scholar. Okay, yeah, fair enough. Michael S. Heiser states he has found many inaccuracies in Sitchin's translations and challenges interested parties to use this book to check their validity. Professor Ronald H. Fritzer, author of the book Invented Knowledge, False History, Fake Science and Pseudo-Religions, mentions the example of Sitchin's claim that the Sumerian sign Dugir means pure ones on the blazing rockets, adding that Sitchin's assignment of meanings to ancient words is tenditious and frequently strained. Fritz also commented on Sitchin's methodology, writing that when critics have checked Sitchin's references, they have found that he frequently quotes out of context or truncates his quotes in a way that distorts evidence in order to prove his contentions. Evidence is presented selectively and contradictory evidence is ignored. Sitchin based his arguments on his personal interpretations of pre-Nubian and Sumerian texts and the CLVA 243. Sitchin wrote that these ancient civilizations knew of a 12th planet, when in fact they only knew 5. Hundreds of Sumerian astronomical seals and calendars have been decoded and recorded, and the total count of planets on each seal has been 5. CLVA 243 has 12 dots that Sitchin identifies as planets. When translated, CLVA 243 reads "your servant," which is now thought to be a message from a nobleman to a servant. According to Heiser, the so-called son of the seal, sun on seal, VA 243 is not the Sumerian symbol for the sun, but is a star, and the dots are also stars. The symbol on seal VA 243 has no resemblance to the hundreds of documented Sumerian sun symbols. In a 1979 review of the 12th planet, Roger W. Westcott, professor of anthropology and linguistics at Drew University, Madison, New Jersey, USA, noted Sitchin's amateurishness with respect to the primacy of the Sumerian language. And goes on. Okay, so there's some people pooping on him. Okay, Peter James, co-author of the controversial book Centuries of Darkness, has criticized Sitchin both for ignoring the world outside Mesopotamia and more specifically for misunderstanding Babylonian literature. He uses the epic of creation and Enumeration as the foundation for his cosmogony, identifying the young god Marduk, who overthrows the older regime of gods and creates the earth as the unknown 12th planet. In order to do this, he interprets the Babylonian theogony, what's that? A poem by Hesiod describing the origins and genealogy of the Greek gods, composed around 730 BC. Okay. As a factual account of the birth of the other 11 planets. Babylonian names for the planets are established beyond a shadow of a doubt. Ishtar was the deity of Venus, Nugo of Mars, Marduk of Jupiter, and confirmed by hundreds of astronomical, astrological tables and treatises on clay tablets and papyri from the Hellenistic period. Sitchin merely ignores all of this and assigns unwarranted planetary identities to the gods mentioned in the theogony, and goes on. Right. Another guy poo-poos him. Okay. Yeah, I can understand if like Christian theologists or evangelists or whatever want to poo-poo on him because they're trying to establish their belief system as, you know, the truth. Yeah, whatever. It's all propagandic in ways, many ways. Okay. Yeah. Okay. So that's a brief history. Go look at it yourself on Wikipedia if you want to read it further. Okay. So Sitchin translated clay tablets, state bases, and monuments inscribed in ancient Sumer, now Iraq. Okay, so this guy was didn't know what the hell he was doing, but he had other students like this guy here, Sasha Alex, whatever his name was. Surely they would come to realise that he's got it all wrong, you know. So they would, if they're honest, they would come out and say, yeah, okay, the dude got it all wrong. It's a load of rubbish. But I don't know, they're promoting it because they believe in the guy. You know, he was their mentor, their teacher. I want to keep his memory alive. I know there's another one that he spent time with Sitchin and taught him all the stuff about this. But somebody killed him, murdered him in his home. Yeah, I can't remember his name. Yeah, something like that. He had a few videos on YouTube, probably still does. Yeah. And he was like saying, yeah, Sitchin was his teacher and he's right, all that sort of stuff. Okay, Sumerian scribes pressed or stamped writing called cuneiform into clay tablets. The tablets show the Sumerians' version of our solar system's history for the last 4.5 billion years. 300,000 years ago, the tablets say the ETs added their genes onto Homo erectus to create earthling slaves. 13,000 years ago, as the ET's planet and burrows near Earth, the Antarctic ice sheet slid into the South Sea and caused a deluge. The ETs let most of the hybrid Earthlings drown. ETs also nuked Sodom and Gomorrah in 2024 BC and decimated the Earthlings of Sumer with radiation. Nibirians with advanced weaponry and biological pathogens murdered hundreds of thousands of Earthlings. Okay, he's got a big tablet there, enlargement of it, clay tablet, made for ETs from Nibiru. Okay. The ETs, whom the scribes called gods, the Bible's Elohim, dictated the tablets and statue tags. Statues show the ETs looking like 7 to 12 foot and taller Swedes with space-age weapons. These so-called gods lived millions of Earth years. They seed an atmospheric crisis 445,000 years ago, and Nibiru drove them to Earth for gold. Yeah, apparently like an ozone layer was being depleted of the gold, and they protected the planet. If it diminished, if it was totally gone, it'd probably burn up the planet or freeze it or something like that. So they had to do something about it, apparently a guy stole a spaceship, one of the aliens. I'm not too sure on this one, but it says here 445,000 years ago, I guess. Ea, Ta, Buza, Hephaestus, Vulcan, and Adonai. Oh, okay, so they were Vulcans. And Iberian Sumerians. Shouldn't it be a Iberian Sumerian called Enki? Oh, a Iberian Sumerians called Enki rocketed to Earth with 50 men. 50 medics, 600 miners, and 300 astronauts and administrators followed them. The expedition sought gold to refine to floating monoatomic white powder of gold and create a superconductive shield for Nibiria's decaying atmosphere. Sumerians named the Nibirians Anunnaki, those who came from the sky. Israelites called Nibirians Anakin and Nephilim. Egyptians called Nibirians Neta, watchers. Okay, so then that Metu Neta or Metu Neta means something in ancient Kemetic, something, I don't know what the word is for that one, right? Watchers, possibly. You'd have to go check it out with one of those black US Negro Kemet followers, like Shaka Amos or Sarneta, on YouTube. Get hold of them and check it out. Okay, the Anunnaki found gold aplenty in Africa. Oh yeah, because like gold, there's a lot of resources. Everyone's after Africa, They invaded it in the old days, ancient days. Romans, Greeks, maybe the Arabs, I'm not very sure. Maybe they just did it for slavery reasons. The Anunnaki found gold aplenty in Africa and South America. Enki incited the African miners to strike. They impressed Enlil, aka Yahweh, the expedition chief, or Yahweh, to pardon the strikers. Enki would, he said, breed short-term mining slaves to replace the striking Nibirians. Hey, apparently they didn't like the dark. They didn't like to go down in the dark. Scared of the dark. Something like that. To make the slaves, Enki added his genes, his sister Ninmar's mitochondrial DNA, and genes of Homo erectus. Enki thought the creator of all designed erectus to evolve into Homo sapiens. Okay, so he thought the creator of all. Does it explain who it is? Okay. Enki thought the creator of all designed erectus to evolve into Homo sapiens. Ningsi Zida, Enki's son, Ninmar, and Enki expedited the creator's design. They made hybrid earthlings who could breed. We were like Nibirians, though they had longer heads and bigger brains. Enki made our men with foreskins, Nibirian men lack. Okay, so supposedly that's the heads there, and these ones they find. Try to figure out where the hell did they come from. Okay, Nibirian skulls. These were found in ancient strata on Earth. Okay. Inky created us hybrid short too. We were short, under 6 feet tall. Versions of 7 to 12 foot tall. He shortened our lifespans versus the Nibirian lifespan. Its earliest hybrids might last several hundred years, whereas Nibirians live millions of years. Earth's orbit, smaller than Nibiru's, may also shorten Earthlings' lives. Nibiru revolves around Nemesis and goes on about that. Inky created our ancestors. Here, Nibirians on Earth beget babies with each generation of us Earthlings. Nibirians trained us to mine gold and copper. We tended their crops, livestock, and mentioned. From 300,000 years ago until the Great Flood, millions of us toiled for the ETs in South Africa. Okay. After the flood, 13,000 years ago, expedition bosses had us call them gods. They made us build temples, palaces, hangars, and cities in Sumer, Egypt, Mesoamerica, and South America. They taught us astronomy, meteorology, mathematics, agriculture, herding, writing, architecture, and geology to support cities and palaces. They owned and ruled us. Okay. Well, here's the descendants apparently. Fallout from the bomb spread to Enlil's Sumer, but not Marduk's Babylon. Babylon nestled north of the nuclear cloud. Sumer's Enlilite gods fled, but the Earthlings in Sumer, except for those of Eden, whom Enki saved, died. Marduk ruled Sumer for a while. The ETs and bloodlines of hybrids closest to them genetically, they beget babies on each generation of hybrids, still rule Earth. They chain us in matrices of religion, war and business. Power hierarchies dedicated to Yahweh and Allah compete to the death. Okay. Sumer's history warns us to cast off the hierarchical godspell and mindset of the Nibirians Enlil, the patriarchal and genocidal Nibirian commander who left Earth in 2024 BC, as well as woman degraders Marduk and Nama and mass killer Inanna who stayed on Earth. Nibirians taught us to war, fight, enslave, defoliate, and pollute. Each Nibirian god, made us obey blindly. Some Earthlings fled mines and cities of the gods, hidden hinterlands. Apart from ET abuse and wars, no longer fought us with spears, arrows, chariots, explosives, lasers, guns, and biological agents. Science confirms what the ETs saw and charted when they rocketed to Earth and beyond the parts of the solar system Earthlings can see. It goes on and on and on. They gave us physics and biology, better than we have now. The truth of our origins frees us from the godspell. Philosopher Neil Free defines godspell as a union for Nibirians' return and rule, but earthling religions under the spell of gods obsessed on genealogical status, hierarchy, male rule, and war. They trained the Nibirians in each of us that fights, kills, and grasps. Yeah. The erectus in us, the short-lived hominid, the Nibirians altered, resonates with Gaia, this planet, and with a natural cooperativeness and capacity for species empathy the Nibirians lacked. Okay, when we know and balance our Nibirian and Gaian energies, we break the god spell, become peers rather than servants of the gods. We embrace both our Nibirian and our erectus natures, our capacities to strive and compete, as well as capacities to support, encourage, love, and celebrate every consciousness. And then it goes on and on. The Ancient Enumeration describes how 4.5 billion years ago our sun created Tiamat, then Mercury. The sun then, says that Enuma, sent Mercury with water and gold to Tiamat. Planet pairs formed, Venus with Mars, Jupiter with Saturn, Uranus with Neptune. These planets orbited the sun counterclockwise, as did Tiamat. There was no planet between Venus and Jupiter, where the Earth now resides, and Pluto was a moon of Saturn. Okay. Some more info there. All these claims. believes is true. It's all there. Well, according to Sitchin, this guy's parroting it, pushing it. Okay, all this information here, it's quite a lot. Total of the Earth. What's the Earth? It would be good to find out in these books if, or in this book, if the Earth is actually flat, as claimed by flat earthers. Okay, let's have a look. See what drops it in here. Yeah, I do got pictures of it being round, the globe. There was a time in history, I think, some people said it was flat. Don't go too close to the edge when you're sailing, you fall off. Maybe Christopher Columbus days, or Sir Walter Scott, something like that, or Walter Raleigh, or was it Drake? Or somebody, Magellan, somebody like that. Yeah, don't go too close to the edge of the planet, you'll fall off because it's square. Some flat earthers I've heard say, oh yeah, well in the Bible it says it's flat because 4 angels stand at each corner of the world. They'll be tied up there or whatever. They can't get away, whatever, something like that. But yeah, it doesn't mean it literally. It's like metaphorically, and the 4 corners aren't like 4 corners of a square. What it's actually saying is the compass points, north, east, west and south, right? North, south, west and east. Okay, that's what it's talking about. You go look at the original manuscripts translated in English, the language is used, and you'll probably find that it's true. Okay, so yeah, this book goes on and on, I guess. Some more here, what's this? A Lulu. What's this? Fighting. It's quite an interesting book. Okay. Reading them, you know, pantheon of gods and all that sort of stuff, you can get the impression that it's all mythical. Okay, here we go. Here's the winged icon of Egypt. This is the one of Persia. Okay, and Marduk, I think. Zoroastrianism. It's got these bird legs here. And then you have the Sumerian one, right? Yeah, probably doesn't show it here. No, it doesn't. Yeah, all different winged icons, right? All I know is that this one is Persian and this one is Egyptian. I don't know where these other ones come from. These two here. I'll probably tell you there in the book, in this book. So yeah, what's this? Since the nuclear wars killed many more men than women as had men take principal and secondary wives, official concubines too. Anne's dynasty set the law of succession. The king's heir, a son he has with his half sister. The principal wife rules when the king dies. This law will long plague Earth, would legitimize the contribution of 9 of female transmitted DNA in the Merovingian French wars. Descendant from Jesus, really? Maybe. King Anne. Yeah, seems to be interesting. And they believe it true. Information there. Alalu proved Earth's gold. Alalu nuked to Earth. See golds here threaten the bear. Alalu launched a missile-loaded rocket for Earth, and with the nuclear missiles blasted through stones on the asteroids, he landed in the Persian Gulf and waded ashore. Okay. Okay, it mentions about the Adamites and no partner. Brought all the animals to this one Adamite, perfected being, to name them apparently, and there's no partner suitable for him, supposedly in the story. And so he jumped all these animals and he's got caught. And they're like, you can't do that, you know. You're a perfected being. I'm not too sure if it's any. Okay. Yep. There's quite a lot of info there. I might actually read it later. I think this video is pretty long. It's enough, right? But you can go. I'll leave the link to it, and you can go look at it yourself if you're interested in it. Okay, this be the couch kurumara, or aka clear sausage. Hope you enjoy it. If you do, subscribe to my channel, give us a thumb up, add your comments, right? Tell us how much you loved it. Okay, we out here.